again, everyone, and welcome to this Friday edition of ESPN FC. I'm Alexis Nunes alongside Stevie Nicol, a very confident Stevie Nicol, I would say, and Craig Burley. Well, we're going to find out in just a bit because
more confident than last.
A lot more confident than last Thursday. He has got a bit of a glow about him, and I wonder what that is. We'll see if he still has the glow after this weekend. Because
he's out of breath.
We're sitting in front of the fire all day.
He's just come up 10 flights of stairs.
We're kicking off things in the Premier League because, like I said, it's a big one this Sunday. Number 2 versus number 3 in the standings at the moment. Manchester City going up against Liverpool. Let's have a look at the odds to see how the bookies think this one will go. And surprise, surprise, Manchester City just the slight favourites. Probably has to do with the fact that they will be at home at the Etihad. Right, let's get straight into it. Nedum is joining us as well as Frank Leboeuf. But Stevie Nicol, you know I'm going to start with you on this one. Do you feel like you're a bit more optimistic going into this one after what we saw from Liverpool against Villa and, of course, against Real Madrid?
Absolutely. If you'd asked me that question this time last week, I would have been telling you how they were going to lose, why they were going to lose, and how many they were going to lose by. But now, it's amazing what happens in the space of a week. The optimism has returned, and it's everything I'm thinking about is positive, to be quite frank with you.
Wow.
Well, I'm positive.
The crisis averted.
Well, I think it's still a little early. It's a couple of games. The last one obviously being a huge performance and result. So yeah, I'm more confident in Liverpool going forward, 100%. Up until Villa, it didn't look like anybody had actually kicked the ball with each other for, well, ever. So going forward, yeah, I think there's still question marks over the defence, and that is my biggest concern. But in terms of being able to create chances and score, I think they can, absolutely, against City away from home.
All right, well, I can't wait to hear what Nedum thinks about this one because we do have him as our City man here. Nedum, it's also been a big week with 2 big wins for Manchester City. Erling Haaland continuing to be in destructive form, but Phil Foden as well looking good. We're going to talk about him later. But is this team now looking more like the old City?
I think in some ways, yes. Obviously, with slightly different personnel, but ultimately they do feel like they're in a better sort of position. I think defensively they've looked quite solid as well in recent weeks, not out of all by Donnarumma being in that side as well. So I think as they approach this game, it's not necessarily the free scoring City of, say, where they're absolute peak, but they're finding ways to win different games of football. Not necessarily playing into the other team's strengths, like, for example, the way they played against Bournemouth. If that ends up being an end-to-end game, it's Bournemouth that are going to win. In the midweek, same thing potentially with Dortmund, but instead they've managed 2 good wins against 2 good sides, and obviously sides that people would expect City to beat. But as Stevie was saying with Liverpool, it's that building of momentum, it's that level of belief, and they approach this game with Liverpool now in a good position, and knowing that playing at home is going to make a big difference, and they want to make amends, I imagine, from the way they played against them last year. I think in the home tie, it was the first time in a long time that they lost to Liverpool at home. But Liverpool were in a far better position then, and City were in a horrible position as well. But now is positive, and thankfully I think this is actually going to end up being a good game, as opposed to what could have been a horror show if we were looking ahead to it a few weeks ago.
That was such a level-headed answer from Nedum. I didn't want that.
Very sensible, wasn't it?
No, too sensible. I wanted him to say, yes, we're out for blood. Watch out, Liverpool. Watch out, Stevie Nicol.
Well, you asked him about City being... What was the question again?
Back to the old City that we've come to know and relatively love.
Well, no, is the answer.
They're not.
No.
What do you think they are?
No, that's what I'm asking.
Well, I'm asking you.
No, no, they're still...
Well, they're not. I mean, they're a long way from that at the moment. They're well behind Arsenal. There's still a lot of questions about their defence. Yeah, they're Erling Haaland scoring goals, but they used to petrify teams. I mean, they dominated English football for, 4 or 5 years. They should have won the Champions League more than they did, but they sort of somehow threw away, knockout quarter-finals and semi-finals, lost a final to Chelsea when Guardiola got the team wrong. That was a scary City side. This is a good City side at the moment. They've had a decent start. They're, both Liverpool. We'll put it another way. A, they are quite a few points behind Arsenal, and B, Liverpool have just come off a pretty catastrophic period up until the Villa and the Real Madrid game. That period where his chin was on the floor, all the chins were on the floor. Arne Slot was at press conferences, he was saying this, that, and this, and the next thing, and I can't get results, and I can't. And yet they can go above City tomorrow at the weekend, Sunday. They can go above them. So I think that tells you that, you know, at the moment, both these sides have a ways to go.
Yep.
At the moment, Arsenal are the right package. Good up front, strong in midfield, strong at the back, have a good squad. But City have been exciting, and Liverpool have obviously had a good week. But, you know, there's none of these teams. This is not Liverpool of last year just yet, and this is not City of yesteryear just yet. They're quite a ways away from that, I would say.
Frank, if you take in what Craig said, if we had to look at weaknesses in this Liverpool team as well as Manchester City, would you say it's in their defences?
Yes, it still is. It's getting a little bit better because I found Konate very good last time against Aston Villa, but also against Real Madrid. I think there is a little spit of betterness, I would say, from Liverpool everywhere, and also in their heads, where mentally they're more accurate, I would say, they're ready to give efforts altogether. So, but yeah, overall, we still want to see better positioning, better understanding between the defenders and also the middle of the park. And I don't know if Robertson's going to be put back, which I think it should. It should be. Kerkez should stay on the bench. Yeah, they still have to work on some positioning and individuals. But really, it's getting better, so we have to be confident. But against Man City, who really know how to work, and if we are going to talk about Foden later, we have to talk about what Doku and Savinho were capable of doing during the Manchester City Champions League game. They opened another threat on the side who maybe allowed Foden and Allen in the middle of the park to be in the center of the park and in the middle of the park to have more spaces and be even more dangerous.
This game should be, sorry Stevie, this game should be pretty exciting because both teams haven't got the capabilities at the moment to do what Arsenal can do. If this is one of these teams playing against Arsenal, Liverpool or City, might not be quite as an exciting game, I would say, as this could be in Sunday, because Arsenal have the ability to shut a game down as well as be physical and go and play an attacking game as well. Both these sides at the moment don't have that. They've got the flaws in the game, particularly Liverpool in recent weeks, where they're not able to just hold a good shape and keep a clean sheet. And I dare say that's not City's game either. So I think for those reasons, this game, because of their flaws early on in the season, and both of them want to play the way they want to play, should be a pretty open game.
You know, you remember 4 or 5 years ago when these two sides were absolutely at their peak and we couldn't wait at the game. Yeah. We were excited that the game was coming up. Well, it's actually, I feel the same way about this game. The only difference is both sides are not at their best, which is why it's going to be exciting. Because I've just said Liverpool look as though they're getting way better going forward, which is great because they're up against a team in City who absolutely 100% will try and dominate and push Liverpool back, which means Liverpool can counter on them. At the same time, yeah, Haaland's scoring crazy amounts of goals, and Liverpool's defence is questionable as well. So for completely different reasons than maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it's really tough to call this game. The only thing I think most of us are thinking is there's goals in it. Yeah. Because both sides look as though they're creating. Certainly Haaland's scoring for fun, but both sides are vulnerable defensively. So this is a real tough one to call.
Stevie, just looking at the starting 11 against Liverpool, of course, we talked a lot yesterday about the addition of Andy Robertson and how good he has been. Craig pointed out the experience that he brings, even though he's not the Robbo we're used to seeing from a couple of seasons ago. Does he start tomorrow? Does he have to?
Absolutely has to. Unfortunately, it's his third game in a week, but he absolutely has to start. And if he blows a gasket, then you're going to have to bring on Kerkez probably. And I guess the big question is Wirtz. Personally, I don't think he'll start. I think Savinho down that side is a different ball game than playing against Tchouaméni for Robertson. He's going to need some help, and Florian Wirtz doesn't give anybody any help on the field defensively, regardless. So for that reason alone, I think absolutely Gakpo will start.
Craig talked about this yesterday. Nedum, what about looking at you now from the City perspective? How is that back four at Liverpool going to deal with the absolute threat of Manchester City going forward, especially when we saw finally other players coming to the goal-scoring party?
Well, to be honest, I watched the Real Madrid-Liverpool game in midweek, and the thing that impressed me the most from their standpoint was the fact that they didn't get drawn into this game to where Real Madrid could almost expose them on the counter-attack. You know, like we'd seen teams do against Liverpool in those first few weeks of the season. Instead of, say, committing loads of bodies forward, and in some ways, maybe the fact that Robertson was playing was a big part of this. Like, if they lost the ball in transition, you'd still see potentially at times the back four in there, maybe two of their midfielders. So whoever Real Madrid were trying to attack with, they were always outnumbered, and they could always slow the game down to a point where everybody else can work hard to get back in. So as a consequence, I think defensively, that's the attitude that I think they needed to have had throughout the season to this point, instead of getting hit so often in transition and sort of overcommitting at the worst times. And I think if they overcommit on Sunday, then, you know, I think City will be able to capitalise upon that itself. But this is funny because it's the psychology of football at times. You know, you want your attackers to at times cheat to give yourself the option of doing something good in transition. But if the other team attack you really well, then those players who are cheating, they might cost you. And for example, again, I thought obviously Conor Bradley was brilliant in midweek against Vinicius Junior, but there was a great camera angle from pitch side which showed Conor Bradley getting ready to defend against Vinicius, but just over Conor Bradley's shoulder was Gravenberch coming over. So Vinicius is always seeing a 2v1 against him, and it's sort of limiting the way that he's going to be able to play that situation. And I think when Liverpool have that sort of mentality and that sort of setup and that desire to want to suffer for each other and to defend hard, you know, they'll end up having one of the best defensive records between now and the end of the season. But when people don't put in those hard yards, then I think teams like City will probably tear them apart.
Yeah, Frank, I don't think I had that Liverpool backline dealing with the threat of Vinny Jr. and Kylian Mbappe so well on my bingo card. So if they go with that backline again, what do you think of what Nedum said? Do you think they can deal with the threat that Manchester City impose?
Manchester City front line is one of the top line of forwards and in the world. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be tricky. Don't forget that City at 3-0 midweek got a little bit sloppy. They conceded one goal, and if Adeyemi would have scored the second goal for Dortmund, it might have been another story at the end of the game. But well, it went well for the citizens, good for them. But they have a quite of inconsistency to keep the level for 90 minutes. So let's see how it works against Liverpool, who seems to be rebirthing from their past.
It was Dortmund, wasn't it? Sorry. Did I say that? I mean, not taking anything away from City, but I am in a way. I mean, historically, one of the bigger elite sides, that just give away goals. I mean, you saw that Haaland, the strike was brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Obviously, Doku left his defender on his backside. But there must have been 7 yellow jerseys there. Not one of them even close to picking up. So, yeah. You have to just temper it a little bit. City were really good, but it is Dortmund who just year on year just can't get the defensive aspect of the game right.
What do you make of what Stevie said that he doesn't see Wirtz starting, especially after we just
finally
saw him?
I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. I'm fed up guessing. I don't know. I just don't. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. There's no way he can throw Kerkez back in, because if it goes wrong, he'll get absolutely smashed. You'll just I mean, Kerkez is already on eggshells, right? Confidence is sort of gone. So he's been taken out for a little breather. But I mean, long term at the moment, he's the successor. I mean, that can change, but he is. If he throws him back in at the Etihad against one of your main rivals and he gets a pasting, the manager's getting it and the player's absolutely gone. So as Stevie said, I mean, it's not ideal with 3 games in a week, but I think Robertson's got the football acumen just to go in there and say, like, I'm not going to be bombing forward. I don't need to bomb forward. I'll go when the time is right. But it's not that harem scarum up and down, because he doesn't do that anymore. And as an experienced fullback, he's just got to pick his moments. Make sure he's tucking in next to Van Dijk. Make sure he's pulling the wide player in, which is probably maybe the reason why it might not be Wirtz. Pulling that guy or the midfielder or the left-sided player back to help him and just holding his position. It's not going to take a lot of energy unless City are completely on top, and it's just, wave after wave of attack, which I don't think it will be. So that one's an easy one to call. I don't know on the Wirtz. I think maybe unlikely, but not impossible.
If it's at Anfield, then I think he probably thinks about it more. But the fact that it's at City, I just don't see how he can.
He just came off of his best game in a Liverpool shirt. But actually,
but
interestingly on Florian Wirtz, just have a look at what Arne Slot had to say. He said, look, Florian can play in more than only one position. He can play off the left, which he did almost all the time in Leverkusen when Xabi Alonso came and introduced his 3-4-3 system. Before, he played as a 10 in a 4-3-3. It is more about getting him positions where he is good rather than being focused on, is he a 10, is he an 11, or is he an 8?
Well, the problem is, he's all of those.
But you prefer him on the left.
But what he's not is a defender. And so when you're in the position Liverpool are in, and you're going to City, you can't afford to carry a passenger. You know, we were talking about it earlier in the season where Liverpool were carrying 3, 4 and 5 passengers. Now they've got some form, they're not carrying anybody. So, yeah, you can't take the chance. This is a big game for Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool are pretty far behind as it is. If they lose this one, and Arsenal beat Sunderland, which they will, I mean, we're in the realms of, well, let's just make sure we get in the top 4. That's how big a game for Liverpool this is.
I mean, it's just a guessing game, isn't it, really? It's a bit like when you go and do a commentary with all these boring commentators. and they're rushing about the touchline. They're rushing about the touchline trying to get the teams, because and I'm like, the team's coming out. We'll get the team an hour before the game, and then we'll find out what the team is. Because up until that point, you're second guessing what a manager's going to do. It's a bit like predictions and all the other stuff that we do. We don't know. We don't know what he's going to do. We don't know what manager's going to choose. We don't know what way he's going to play. It's all a guessing game until you get the teams an hour before and the game starts. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny about it, but that's what it is.
Good job. We have predictions coming up later. But Frank, you wanted to jump in?
Guesses.
Yeah. I just want to jump on the Wirtz or Gokpa decision of the coach, whether you're going to put one of the others. The thing is that defensively, for me, from what I've seen, for example, with Chelsea or with Liverpool before, when we had the Trent Alexander-Arnold defensive issues where Anderson was covering him, helping him out. I think it should be the same with McAllister on the side, because we have McAllister and Gravenberch. Gravenberch should take care of Conor Bradley covering and helping him out, and McAllister on the other side. Gakpo or Wirtz have to go back in their position. Only that we don't have them to really defend. So that's not really the point. The point is how McAllister is going to help out Robertson. For me, that's the key of the game.
Who's going to help out the City fullbacks? Is that not no? Is it a one-way street here?
No,
I'm just wondering, are they super duper defensively that they're not? Who's going to watch Salah, or is it Gakpo, or is it Wirtz? Is it Gakpo playing in the wider position, making those runs at the back post, or is it Wirtz coming in to give, playing a little, tucking in a bit to give somebody a problem, a fullback something to think about? It's not just there's a problem for Liverpool there and a problem for maybe Conor Bradley or Robertson. There's, Liverpool have to make sure that they are making City think. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look, I might be wrong here, but City haven't won in this fixture, I believe, I stand corrected, since 2023. So, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't know, I can't remember. I read that somewhere. So, it's about Liverpool, in some ways, making Man City think on their feet at home, because they have possessions in the side, particularly at the back, that they are also weak in.
Well, Nedum, one of the things that we were saying that you should feel definitely a lot more optimistic about Manchester City is the fact that we finally see other people getting on the score sheet, not just Erling Haaland, but specifically Phil Foden. And we know exactly how much of a threat he can be when he's full of confidence and in goal-scoring form.
So when you can get the ball to somebody like him, you can see that injection of energy and you can see things change up. The link-up that he can have with Erling Haaland, link-up he can have with Doku, Savinho and so on. You get a chance to see like a really, really good number 10 for Man City. And the way that he does it, he's patient. He stays in those right sorts of areas. And if you get the ball to his feet, as I say, he's not looking to just set it off. He wants to turn and drive towards that goal. And best of all, for him in midweek, those were two really, really classy finishes, making it seem so easy. And I think the more he does that, the better we'll see him.
So the second goal he scores there is what separates him from the rest of the players in the Premier League when he's at his best.
Yeah.
But Liverpool can't afford to do what Dortmund did and stand off him. And if Liverpool do stand off him, then we will be able to see what Phil Foden's capable of. And I think Liverpool are going to, you know, Craig was talking about, I'm sitting thinking when Craig was talking there about, to me, this is going to be Liverpool counter-attacking as opposed to going out and trying to go toe-to-toe, because that's how they'll get them. You're right, Núñez, if he plays it on one side and O'Reilly plays on the other side, their forte is not defending. And so I expect Liverpool to be counter-attacking, which means that they're going to be a little deeper and they're going to have bodies around, which means people like Phil Foden aren't going to be able to show us what he showed us against Dortmund, because I don't expect Liverpool to stand off him. Because if they do, then the result will be completely different.
All right, well, as usual, I asked the guys for predictions for this fixture. Let's have a look at what everyone said. And, talk about everyone being on the same page. Every single solitary person on this show has gone for a 2-2 draw. And I'm telling you, we were not talking before this. Stevie, would a draw, though, be enough for Liverpool to try and keep pace with Arsenal?
Well, no, because if they win at Sunderland, then they'll be another 2 points behind. But
you want to take back your prediction?
no, I see it being a draw, which, in terms of the title, doesn't help either of the two of them. Doesn't help either of the two of them. As long as we get a great game, then we'll all be happy, I suppose. But for both of these sides, a draw isn't a good result. Just puts them further back. And actually, for Liverpool, a draw is a worse result than it is for City, in my opinion.
All right, well, as we know, the international break is just around the corner. Oh, Frank, you don't agree?
No, I don't agree, because Liverpool playing away from home, drawing against Manchester City is a good result. Yeah, it's
well,
not a good result.
In terms of the title, Frank, that's what I meant.
Arsenal's going to do. No, of course, but who would have thought like a week ago that Liverpool could draw against Manchester City? So you have to go step by step. Yeah, for the championship, for the Premier League, sorry, it's maybe not, if Arsenal wins against Sunderland, a good result. But it's a result away from home, and in terms of confidence, it can bring something. It would be a very bad result for City, for sure.
All right, well, like I was saying, the international break is just around the corner. And Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham are back in Thomas Tuchel's squad for England.